Hey, yo, what up, YouTube? I'm a little late to this video. I've been a little bit busy. I've been working a lot ever since I got back from vacation. So, for starters, I want to talk real quick updates. Since I posted the Canelo versus CHARLO live in-person video, I gained so many subscribers and I can't be more thankful. I do want to mention that I've been battling a copyright claim for the last 15 days. I have submitted a counter notification because my original fight video got taken down. They, not even Showtime Boxing, some other organization stated that was their video. Clearly, I didn't post a full fight of, Showtime or DAZN's broadcast. So I submitted a counter claim, fully knowing that I could get sued legally because that's the rule. So today is October 16th. Today is day 10, or tomorrow is day 10. They give you 10 business days to do to submit the lawsuit so they can keep the video off. Today's either day 9 or day 10. The video should be back up if I win and they don't sue me within the next 2 days by Wednesday, at the earliest tomorrow. So that video should be back up and everybody can be able to see, and I should be able to post my other fight videos that I have based on the Vegas trip. Because I have Mario Barrios versus Jordanis Ugas, but I didn't post it because I don't want my channel to be terminated. And I've been kind of on the low, and I've still been watching sports. Anyways, to the topic of this video, since you guys suffered that enough, I want to talk about Tszyu versus Brian Mendoza, because that was really the fight of this weekend, and I did think it was the more interesting one than Yanni Beck, and Yanni Beck was kind of a useless thing to talk about. So, Tszyu, and what do I think about Tszyu? Well, I think Tszyu is a strong motherfucker. I think people have to be underrating this guy in a lot of terms. Reason saying is because I see a lot of people online saying Tszyu's an email champion. I see a lot of people online saying that Tszyu doesn't deserve the belt he has. I want to dispel those logics for starters. CHARLO vacated, he didn't vacate, they stripped him of his WBO belt the minute he got announced as undisputed champion in Canelo versus CHARLO. So, because he didn't defend his belt against Tszyu, he got stripped. That is just the rules, and that's how the lay of the land works. So, Tszyu got elevated, and he's fighting the number 2 WBO contender, who also was the WBC interim champion, Brian Mendoza. Brian Mendoza coming off an amazing knockout. He was losing the fight to Sebastian Fundora until a comeback knockout left hook, and he dropped him and knocked him out pretty well. And before that, he beat Banana Rosario, which was, pretty good. Nobody really thinks too highly of Banana, though, these days. So how about the main fight, Tszyu and Brian Mendoza? Well, I will say this fight was a tale of two halves, and a tale of two halves for two different reasons. One, Brian Mendoza had beautiful movement, beautiful boxing for rounds 1, 2, 3, and you can maybe argue round 4. Brian Mendoza kept a lot of speed, a lot of punches, and he kept moving around the ring, making it hard for Tszyu to land anything significant. And I say that's round 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4, things start to change a little bit, though, because Tszyu starts lining him up and starts using his jab. There's two folds. Round 1 through 4, Brian Mendoza was moving and using a lot of good punches to keep Tszyu at bay. Starting round 4, Tszyu started using his jab, which was sorely missing in rounds 1 through 3, and he started using it in 4 to start lining the shots up, which, good to him, because he noticed that that's something he was missing fundamentally. Round 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Tszyu just turned on a different level. I mean, this guy started using his jab to the stomach, his jab to the midsection, the jab to the fucking head, and then he used that jab to put Brian Mendoza in the corner, and then you know what he did? Pound on him with his right hand. And Tszyu's super strong. Brian Mendoza, with the first freaking right hand that landed flush, already had a nice little bruise up here. What happened after that? I feel like Brian Mendoza gassed a little bit after round 5. Didn't have the same stamina, or the power was affecting him and he was afraid to engage with Tszyu. There's 2 moments in the fight that could have been honestly stopped. In my opinion, round 11, I think it was round 11, or was it 12, where Brian Mendoza was just getting battered in the corner. You could have stopped the fight and there would have been no debate with me. I forget which round it was, but when Tszyu landed the mean uppercut and started that mean onslaught on Brian Mendoza, you could have stopped the fight and I wouldn't have been mad. Because I didn't need to see Brian Mendoza get his ass beat. He's a good fighter. He always had a puncher chance, but I didn't need to see him get his ass beat more. Because honestly, the minute round 5 started and Tszyu started using his jab to line him up and put him in those corners, it was game over. Brian Mendoza was just food after that. I think he was A, afraid of the power, and 2, Tszyu was using a beautiful jab to get everything going. But that was the lesson of this fight. If Tszyu's lesson against Ocampo is that he has a lot of power. His lessons against Brian Mendoza is that he has to learn how to set up the power and not just throw it wildly in order to get the results he wants, using the jab, basically. And the fight before that, the Tony Harrison fight, he knew that, but I think he looked pretty good in the Brian Mendoza fight, a guy who literally is only lost to Jesus Ramos. I think only Jesus Ramos, and that's a guy who should be arguably undefeated, although I, made money on Lubin. Okay, now what about what's next for Tszyu? Well, Tszyu after the fight was saying, "Why are you CHARLO, my buddy?" And I think, honestly, if they don't make that fight, it makes sense to me because Jermell CHARLO was ordered to fight to fight his IBF mandatory in 30 days. He has to make that fight happen. If not, the IBF is going to strip him. So two things are going to happen. One, technically, I think the IBF can make something happen so they can unify all 4 belts again. Excuse me. But the big thing here that's missing is that the IBF has already ordered the fight for the IBF mandatory, so I don't think that's going to be allowed. So the two ways this goes is that CHARLO fights his IBF mandatory, so he comes back down in weight from 168 pounds, which I think is a terrible idea. Once you go up in weight, you don't come back down. Think Roy Jones Jr. going from heavyweight to fucking light heavyweight. It just makes you slow. Even the YouTuber recently, Salt Poppy. I do watch those YouTuber fights. I do. I just don't talk about them because nobody would respect me. That guy lost a shit ton of weight and looked really bad. At heavier, he looked faster and stronger. When he dropped a lot of weight, looked bad. Because rule of thumb is when you go up, you don't come back down. So that's kind of how I feel about that. What is, if the fight were made hypothetically, who am I going to favor? A couple months ago, I thought Tszyu had potential. Now, after I saw how Jermell CHARLO just came for a paycheck against Canelo, got his ass beat, got dropped, is going to go down in weight, I got Tszyu knocking him out. Here's the caveat, though. The caveat is if Tszyu can corner him, and I do think he can. He learned a lot with his Brian Mendoza fight using his jab, and if he uses his jab against Jermell CHARLO, he lines up a couple uppercuts, a couple right hands, and it's the game over. CHARLO's not coming back up. Or CHARLO just does what he did against Canelo and just goes in survival mode. Just to survive. So, if that fight doesn't happen and they strip CHARLO, what's the next steps? Well, it's easy. They're going to give the IBF mandatory challenger 1 and 2 to fight. Tszyu should fight the winner of that fight and get the WBO and the IBF unification going, while Jermell CHARLO figures out what the hell he wants to do. In my humble opinion, at this point in time, I am picking Tszyu to beat the shit out of Jermell CHARLO. I saw Jermell CHARLO fight Canelo in person, and that video should be back up. It has over 250K views, and those motherfuckers took it down. And they're not even an official company. It pisses me off. Anyways, those are my thoughts on what I saw this weekend. I'm not even going to waste time talking about Yanni Beck, and I'm not going to waste time talking about Logan Paul, even though I did watch that shit. Anyways, please subscribe. Please remember, I will try to be consistent. It's just hard when you got a real job and a bunch of other shit going on. Again, thank you for all the support and love. Peace out. Let's hope my videos get back, and then I'll upload my more fight videos. Bye.